officially welcome to our 11th session of our Conscious Coaches Power Hour. This began as a dream, just a little hint of a thought in January this year, and took us a couple of months to mobilize and conceptualize. And it's really exciting to be here now and go, wow, we're on number 11. We've got one more left for this year, and then we will get together and consider how we want to run with this next year. And we're a collective community space. We are a group of coaches called Sages, and we love to live and offer our gifts and talents consciously for individuals we call seekers on a path of learning, sharing, self-exploration, growth, and evolution in community. And all of us Sages are seekers too. So it's this beautiful dance of being in the work and doing the work with our friends, our colleagues, and our clients at the same time. And I find the benefits of being on a journey with other people are just incredible. They're exponential. We're part of a larger community called Solo, Search Others, Love Oneself, created by Simone. And we're a conscious community of like-minded individuals that connect seekers and sages. So one of the challenges that birthed Solo was, how do you find tribe and community of people that are offering journeys and self-development pathways and experiences to explore, to grow, to connect. And so Simone has solved that with the Solo community. And yeah, it's really such an honor to be connected to and friends with such awesome human beings, to watch people sparkle and glow and shine in their gifts and their genius, and offer what they do to the world and to take part in it as well. And today we've got Simone Clarke, aka Gabbi, and she's talking about her unique gifts on the topic of unlocking your inner radiance, a self-love power hour. One of our favorite topics. So I'm very, very excited to hear what you've got to share with us today. And see what we can all take away from your experience, your learnings, and your wisdom. So over to you, my friend. I'm going to stop sharing.
Hello, everybody, and thank you, Mary. Yes, self-love. So my journey with self-love has probably been a lifelong one, because I always thought I was so weird, like that there's just something not normal about me, I suppose. And because I was so different to everybody else in my environment, and I didn't subscribe to the same things that everybody else subscribed to. I wasn't interested in similar things that other people were interested in. And so I had to learn how to, at first I made myself really, really small so that I can fit in, because the last thing you want as a kid is to be the odd one standing out. And as time went by, I actually lost a large part of who I am. And again, fast forward into life, into adulthood, and being very good at many things. I've done a lot of things in the corporate world, and I've lived abroad. I've lived in South Africa. I've worked abroad. I've traveled. I've done a lot of things, but never something that came from my heart. I was just good at it. And what would happen is 5 years down the line or 4 years down the line, because I'm neurospicy, I suppose, I can't sit still. I'm bored. I've gone in, I've cleaned house, I've put in new processes, I've done all those things, and now I'm bored. I'm sitting at work and I'm watching series instead of contributing towards the greater good, which led me to a journey of, you can't keep on doing this. You can't keep on repeating the same cycle and getting to the same place and not feeling fulfilled. So who are you, and what is it that you want to do with the rest of your life? And that was a big question. For a while, I couldn't answer it. I had no idea who I was. I grew up in a very religious environment. My father's a minister. So from a very young age, I was taught, programmed to be just so. So they don't know who I was. And then COVID happened. And it was, I know it was a terrible time for many, many, many reasons, but on a personal reason, it forced me to slow down, to stop. There's nothing chasing me now. There's no deadlines. There's no work that needs to be designed. There's nothing happening for me. My work stopped. And now all I was left with was myself. And I didn't know who that person was. And it started this amazing journey of, who am I? So I'm going to attempt to share my screen now. And bear with me, we spoke about my great technical skills just before we started recording. Just need somebody to shout when it is sharing.
Yes.
I think it's sharing. Okay, great. So it led me on this, what is now a 5-year journey of who am I and what am I about? Like, what is this? Why, what is my story? What is my purpose here? Right, let's get to. So the picture on the left is me pre-COVID, and the picture on the right is me post-COVID. And you can see the same kind of, I don't know, it's a mischievous look in my eyes, I suppose. But that light is exactly there, but I look completely different, because the first picture is me fitting in and looking a certain way. And then the second picture is actually how I see myself. And so the first picture I would say is Simone, and the second picture would be Gabbi. And that is where the two names come from. In order for me to discover, to excavate, what is it that I believe in? Who am I? I needed to reinvent myself. I needed to separate Simone, who came from her childhood, her experiences, her fears, her traumas, her things, and find out of all of that, in that cocktail, what are the things that I truly believe about myself? What are the things that I like about myself? What are the things that I can toss? I don't even believe that. This isn't even true for me anymore. Why is it still in me? And I unraveled. And as I unraveled, the one personality, the other personality almost started building. And at the same time, I started asking myself, okay, is this multiple personality disorder that we are developing very late in life? and as I went on, I realized, no, actually, I am designing me. Because when I was born, when we are born, the yogis say, give me a child for 7 years and I'll show you the man. And the reason they say that is because when you take a child and you the first 7 years of their lives, all they do is absorb. They absorb the environment, they absorb the caregivers and how they behave, act, do, as well as your school environment, your social environment, religion, the country that you're in. Is it in a state of war? Is it in a state of peace? And then the world as a whole, all of that plays a role into how you develop or how you were programmed as a small child. And so Simone was programmed to be somewhat obedient and to tone it down, because I was a hyperactive child. And moving forward to becoming Gabbi, it was something that was just, it is me. It is finding pieces of me that feels, oh, I remember this about me. Oh, I remember that I used to love doing this. And the memories started flooding back as well of who I am. And so at the bottom, I have a question that I asked somebody this question a while ago, and I asked him, how do I break the cycle of abandonment? Because abandonment happens in many ways, but because I am polyamorous, I also have more than one relationship at the same time. And some of my secondary relationships was just going, I don't know, not going well. And so I asked this person, how do I break the cycle of abandonment? And his response to me was, you need to stop abandoning yourself. And when I heard that, I thought, wow, I really expected you to say, I'm never going to leave you and I'm always going to be there for you. But I feel that God, the angels, the universe spoke through him, say, stop abandoning who you are and go and find out. Like, who are you? Let's see. Okay, so getting to know yourself. I think, yes, okay, just paused. So getting to know you. What do you love about yourself? Do you know? I am kind, I am loyal, I have an open heart, I am grounded, I am safe. What is it about you that you love? Not what other people tell you they love about you. What is it that you love about you? Have you ever considered the relationship that you have with yourself? Because everybody else is going to come and go in your life. Your partners are going to come and go, whether they come and go by their own accord. Maybe the relationship doesn't work out, or perhaps they move on to their next life. Your children are going to grow up, they're going to move out. The only person that stays with you is you. And yet, as small children or as young children, we are not taught to find out who is that you, because we need to fit a mold so that society can function. So coming back to getting to know you, what do I love about myself? Go and find out. Like when you do something that you think is amazing, like say, well done, wow. And if I stand in my power to choose for myself, what would I choose? Because we always put or often put other people before us. Because again, most of us were programmed that if you choose for yourself, that you are being selfish, or you're being narcissistic, or something that is considered unacceptable, not good. But if you could choose for yourself, if you, for example, find out that you only have one day to live, what are you going to do? If there was no consequences, what would you choose? Because often we choose not to make our decisions based on the fact that we are afraid of the consequences of that decision. If I stand in my integrity, if I stand in my true north, people are not going to like that. It will cause conflict. I don't want to argue with anybody. I don't want to rock the boat. It's okay. I'm going to fall on the sword instead, because that's kind of the program, right? Which makes it easier, albeit painful, but easier because that's what we know. But if you can choose for you without stepping on anybody else, what will you choose for yourself when you have to make decisions? Are you able to say no when you mean no? Or are you still saying yes, but you would really in your heart would like to say no? And once you start practicing this thing I call true north, your own true north, and we all have this inner compass, and the true north isn't the same for all of us because we are so different. But once you start playing around with this inner compass and take these tiny little steps of calibrating yourself towards your own true north, you'll find that people will stop expecting unrealistic things from you. They will stop expecting you to fall on the sword or bend over to accommodate because you always accommodate. What is it about me that I don't like? And why? So for me personally, sometimes I speak really fast. When I get excited, I can speak incredibly fast and I can get incredibly hyper. Again, it's because I'm neurospicy, and it's got its perks, but this is one of the disadvantages, is that I can easily struggle to concentrate, and then I can easily get very hyperactive and forget my train of thought. I don't like that about me. Why don't I like it about me? Because in my workspace, it can make me a bit, inefficient. It can make me feel like I'm lacking, like I'm less. And so it is something that I am mindful of. And so I don't reject it. I don't say, oh, this is a terrible quality. This is part of who I am. And so it is time for us to embrace the things that we don't like about ourselves, because we can't just be amazing. There should also be gnarly, shadowy stuff that we work through. Is this me? Or am I people pleasing right now? This is such a valid and pertinent question because, again, often because we are taught to be good, we become good adults. So, and a good adult isn't necessarily a stable, strong, solid person standing in their integrity. Our society, again, has at large made us to accommodate everybody else and then yourself last. You're not allowed to put yourself first. But it is time to start putting ourselves first, because it is time that we start shining and accepting our beautiful individuality. The time of being sheep and just following, you can feel it. Most of us can feel it on the inside, is that you can't just sit and watch anymore. Who am I? What am I about? Am I just doing this because this is how it's always been done? Am I doing this because this is what is expected of me? Or am I doing it because this is what I love to do? And of course, there's things that has to happen. Like if you have children, you have to feed them, for example. Maybe you don't like cooking, but the kids still have to eat. But you don't have to then go and cook a gourmet meal for your kids. You can make something nutritious and healthy and include them and make that a fun thing, So there's many ways of looking at it, many lenses and many perspectives. But it is important when you make a decision and when something's happening, ask yourself, is this me right now? Let's say you're invited to a party and you say, yes, you're going to go, but you actually don't feel like going. Is this me, or am I people pleasing? So why are you going? What is it that is holding you? What is it that you get out of this people pleasing? Often it is when we please, we are considered to be good, because as children, we were seen, we were heard, we were loved, we received gifts, we received pats on the back. And when we were not pleasing our caregivers, we got into trouble. And that can look in many different, that looks different for everybody. So I read quite a lot. Please pause. Okay, that went on. Sorry, technical difficulties. Where was I? That's the end of my slideshow. All right, that's the next one there. All right. You cannot control which thoughts enter your mind. However, you are in full control of which thoughts are allowed to stay. So we can't just say it's the monkey mind and the mind's running around, because you can decide whether you're going to overthink on something or whether you're not going to overthink on something. So that inner critic that is telling you all these things, that you're not good enough or that you're not worthy, why don't they love me? Why don't they care about me? Doesn't anybody think about me? Do they not see how much effort I put into serving or to being available and to help and to this and to that? You can choose whether you hold on to these thoughts or whether you allow them to flow through you and allow yourself to be free from the voice that is actually not your own, from the program that has been installed into you. So that inner critic needs to be checked. And you can do that. You can ask that inner critic when it starts, when the thoughts start, ask yourself, is this me or is this a program? Is this how I truly feel? Okay, so let's say you truly feel that nobody cares about you or nobody cares about you in this situation. Why do you feel that? What makes you feel that? And then you'll see this one did that and that one did this and that one said that. And at the end of the day, it all boils down to, what is your true north? Do you know who you are? Do you know your worth? Because people will treat you as you treat yourself. So if you treat yourself with integrity, with love, with dignity, with respect, other people will automatically sense that they need to treat you with dignity, respect, kindness, and all the other things that comes with it. But if you're going to stay in the loop of the critical inner the inner critic that is making you spiral down, then people will catch that vibration from you and they will just start piling, which is what happens to most of us, which used to happen to me. because I felt not worthy, unseen, unheard, unloved. And once I shifted that and started focusing on loving myself and actually seeing myself, who am I, and being kind to myself and being loving towards myself and staring into my own eyes, for example. Have you ever done that? Stood in the mirror, look into your eyes. You'll find that it is so disconcerting in the beginning that you can't look in your own eyes. But the more you do it, the better you'll get at it. And the better you get at it, the more you see yourself. And so for me, sometimes I get so busy that I lose myself. And when I pass a mirror, I make it a habit. I stop and I check and I look into my eyes. And sometimes I can't find myself because I'm busy and my brain is churning. But more often than not, I stop in front of that mirror and I see myself and I go, oh, there you are. And then I'm happy and I'm sparked and I'm like, okay, I'm still here. I'm still in here. I'm just in the midst of a lot of things. I'm juggling many things at the same time. All right. So your body and your mind, you are neither of those. Because when we pass this life, we leave the mind here, we leave the body here. And when somebody's passed on, how were they referred to? They don't say, Simone, Gabbi, take Simone, Gabbi to the morgue. They say, move the body, because that is the vessel. That is the vessel of that sparkle that is you, that sparkle that is inside of you, that sparkle that had to make itself really, really small when you were a tiny kid in order to survive in this world. That lives inside of your body. And so in order to excavate yourself, you actually have to get to know your body. What does this body like? What does it prefer? What does it prefer for fuel? Is it gluten-free? Is it lactose intolerant? Can it eat anything? What does this body like? And once you figure that out, honor it, honor the body. If you are lactose intolerant, stop drinking milk and eating cheese, or eat appropriately, because if your body feels good, your mind will also feel good. That's why people always say, try to move every day, even if it's just 30 minutes, move. Because if your body feels the flow, your mind is in a better state. And that's why when you're not feeling good or something's going on, people often recommend just go for a walk, just go for a quick walk. And when you come back, you'll feel better. And you do, most of the time you do. So find out, what is this body's feel? What does pleasure feel like for your body? That is something that I discovered very recently, because often when we are in a state of pleasure and we are in a state of intimacy, even when it is with ourselves, we are always projecting, or often we are projecting a scene in our mind. So you play fantasy and you are busy with your body and you are exploring your body, but there's this fantasy. So it's not you touching you, it's somebody or other people in your fantasy touching you. But have you ever explored what it feels like when you touch you? Just you. There's no fantasy. It's your hands. It's your exploration of you. You'll be surprised at how different that is to, and how connecting it is for your body and your soul to become this one entity in this pleasure, because there is a different flow from then body to mind. What does relaxation mean? Is it a massage? Is it a nap in the afternoon? What does care look like for this body? Does it need to be shaved every day or waxed? Does this body like that? Does this body prefer to be stocky and solid, or does this body prefer to be athletic? What does your body, this vessel, this car? Imagine you have this expensive, amazing, my dream car, Porsche Cayman GT. If I have a car like that, I would take such good care of it. I wouldn't put the wrong fuel. I would make sure it's clean. I will take good care of it. Your body is the vessel for your soul. So we need to take care of it. And then your mind. Your mind is designed and well trained to protect you. But is it? Is it still protecting you? Because again, when we go back to the childhood, and a lot of this is rooted in your childhood that you can't remember. You can't remember all of it. But you came up with mechanisms to protect you from what was then painful. And so often we have this armor around us and it informs our decisions. So it informs how we behave and how we react and how we go forth in life. So, and often as a child, though, that armor served you really, really well. But as an adult, it doesn't. And so you find yourself in situations where what used to work doesn't work anymore. The methods that you applied before doesn't apply anymore, or people misunderstand you grossly. I remember when I was in my early 20s, I dated this guy and he used to call me the ice princess because I was so cold. I was so blocked off from everybody else and I would not allow people in because that was my safety mechanism. That was how I protected myself from external influences or anybody that could get too close and thus hurt me emotionally. And I had to unlearn that because once you find yourself in a safe space where you can disarmor and you can suit down and you're conscious of this is the armor that I'm wearing. This is how I protect myself from healthy situations because I am programmed to do that, to protect myself, because that's what I did in unhealthy situations. So the question is, what kind of armor are you wearing? What are you packing? And do you still need it? And then in order to find out more about you, you have to start curiously exploring your thoughts. What am I thinking and why am I thinking it? So if you have a thought, to ask yourself, do I truly believe that? Or is this just something that I've always thought? Like, I can't make money. Or like I said earlier on, I can't work with technology. I'm not a technology thing. Do I really believe that? I don't really believe that I can't. I believe that if I really invest the energy and put my mind to it, that I can overcome it. But do I want to? It's not the thing for me. So my energy can be spent somewhere else. But before I was so conscious of myself and conscious of my thoughts, I would just say, can't work with technology, the end. Can never do it. I don't know how to do that. I'm not good at this. Are you really not good at it? Or are you just choosing not to explore the avenue? Or is this just something that you've always believed? I'm not worthy. Nobody sees me. Is it true? Does nobody see you? And do you see you because you are somebody? It's the other thing. In order to be seen, you have to see you. And on to our next slide, which brings us to the more you discover yourself, the less rigid you become, the less protective you become. And you are still a little bit like a bamboo, but now you're not bending yourself out of shape. You're bending yourself in a way that is kind of comfortable for you, in an exploratory kind of way. And you are able to set boundaries. So boundaries and rules, sometimes people get them very, very mixed. And the main factor between boundaries and rules for me personally is that boundaries is for self-protection and for your well-being, whereas rules is something that is put into place to control behaviors or situations. And so when you have a boundary, for example, if we use the example at the bottom, I need some alone time after work, that boundary will be flexible and adaptable. For example, if I come from work and there's something that needs to happen, or the kids has got a school play, or we have visitors, I now understand I can't go and sit alone for an hour on the other side of the house and just calm down. So I'm flexible and adaptable. Whereas if it was a rule and I come home and there's people in my house, I would be annoyed because my partner knows that I need some alone time after work. And then the rules again, the purpose is to enforce expectations on others. So you're trying to dominate other people. Whereas when you have a boundary, it is just to communicate your needs. This is what I need. I need to be alone so that I can switch off from work and come into our home life, which will make me a better partner and a better parent. And I just need 30 minutes of just everybody leaves me alone. But when you place rules, and this is, and when I say boundaries and rules, I'm also talking about you to yourself. It's not just external. Our work today is all about you. It's about inside. We try to control ourselves so much, and we try to be so rigid and inflexible with ourselves, having these expectations that is almost impossible to meet and that we wouldn't put on other people. But what happens is we start not liking ourselves. We start being very, very rude. That inner critic, oh, you did that wrong. Oh, did you see that? Oh, that roll over there. Oh, you've gained weight. Oh, that pimple on your cheek. And we start just having this avalanche of just talk and conversation with yourself, and which then leads out to others, that is full of resentment and then power struggles inside and outside of yourself. And so when you start creating these lovely boundaries, and your boundaries get pushed or pressed, or somebody nudges them, you start realizing, whoa, instead of getting angry with this person, you almost want to hug them. I mean, that sounds extreme, but it's like, oh my gosh, an opportunity to test my boundary. Because that's a perspective. That is a lens. You can choose to look at it like that. Or you can go like, how dare you cross my boundary? But now you have an opportunity to enforce your boundary. So what's your next step? The boundary is crossed. What are we going to do? And curiously exploring that without being hard on yourself and without being hard or too harsh on the person that is pushing your boundary. We're going to have space for some questions soon. So some people say that they have not found themselves yet, but the self is not something one finds. It is something one creates, which takes us right back to the unraveling of who you are right now, the unraveling of who you are today, the unraveling of how do I show up in the world now. It is time to go inward. And when I say inward, I don't mean we need to meditate more and we need to breathe more. Of course, those things are important, but it's time to go inward and pay attention to yourself and how you show up in the world. How do you interact with people in certain situations or in any situation? Sometimes I watch myself when I'm going on one of my hyper spirals, and I almost have an out of body experience because I have taught myself that a piece of me is always elevated, observing. There's always an observer watching me. And when it is like that, when I get like that, this observer just stands there and smiles like an indulgent parent almost. And because I can't stop, I'm just, this thing needs to run out of steam now. And the other part of me just watches me lovingly, going like, okay, it's okay. Don't be so hard on yourself. This happens. Breathe through it. Let it go. It's fine. This is how and who you are. You can't find yourself. You have to create yourself. And that is a journey that is so worthwhile. It is a journey that is so amazing. It is a journey that once you start, it will change how you show up in life. You will become happier. You will find that you don't need half the distractions that you use right now. For me, mindless scrolling has become I fall into that dopamine trap, but I quickly get out of it. Like, I don't sit and scroll for an hour on my phone anymore because I realize a few minutes in, okay, what are we doing here? What's going on? Because I have this other piece of me that is above me that's going like, hello, remember we were only looking for this. And now you are in henna tattoos and reparenting and ADHD for adults. And all of a sudden I'm down a rabbit hole. So start this journey of creating who you are and loving that, you know. So what's next? So what do we do next? So coming up, I have designed a course that I will be releasing very, very soon in our communities. It's called Learn to Love Yourself in 7 Steps. And what that entails is that for 7 weeks, a module will be released once per week. That module will have a course that is recorded, pre-recorded, for about 40 minutes. And in there will be homework, and there will be tangible steps that you can follow that will enhance your ability or tools, and give you tools to learn how to do this. Because I don't think none of us has got the ability to love ourselves. I think we all have this ability to go into ourselves and find this sparkle that is you, and not just this NPC thing that we do, like this non-playing character of just churning through life, waking up and repeating yesterday. Once you start and you have these little nuggets and these little tools, it quickly snowballs, and you quickly start finding tools that actually resonates more deeply with you, because you become curious about yourself. And so Learn to Love Yourself More in 7 Steps are those little nuggets. It's those little tidbits that you can follow, so that you can create your own avalanche of who you are. And how do you get access to that? Is if you join one of our communities. So we have, Mary and I have started Sisterhood of the Rose, and it is this amazing space where it is a container to enhance and promote sisterhood and sister love. So it's a container that is for women, and we create this beautiful space where we feel safe, cultivated, and we cultivate the divine feminine in that space and everything that it entails. And then there is my business, which is called The Lens.Love, which is all about perspective. It is all about just changing your perspective, your lens on any given situation, so that you don't react in exactly the same way. And that is a gender inclusive space. Everybody's welcome. And so I've popped up these QR codes. You can just scan them and it'll take you straight to the 2 communities. And yeah, that is me. That is what we've come up with. The end. Any questions? Let's chat. Oof.
You want
Okay,
to
let me
stop
sharing.
sharing?
On it.
Thank you. Amazing human being.
All right, there we go. Woo. Stopped sharing. Okay, I made it through the tech things. Yay.
Rocking
Does
it.
anybody have any questions, or want a little bit more insight or anything?
I love that finding oneself versus creating oneself. This idea of going inwards and choosing versus looking outwards as if we're going to appear. Yeah, it's quite
absolutely. And mirrors do appear. That's the other thing. Everybody in your life is a mirror. Everybody that is in your life is a mirror reflecting you, because that is how, if we look at it from a more holistic perspective or an esoteric perspective, it's not easy to see yourself. And so you see yourself in other people. And that is why we love our children the way that we do, or we love our partners the way that we do, because they show us that love, and they are the mirrors of what we are capable of how much love sits inside of us. But this is for the gnarly things too. All the gnarly things that are happening in a life is also a mirror of showing that this is also inside of you, you know?
Yes. Yeah, feedback, asking for feedback. Mark, you got a thought?
Yeah, I love the flexibility aspect of the boundaries, and that's something very new for myself, in terms of giving yourself that permission, to have that flexibility. And I love your, whatever you call it, that sits and watches you when you're going down the rabbit hole, because that resonated with me, and yeah, just I'm very grateful for the space today. I said to my partner earlier, I said, I've got Zoom in my diary and I have no idea where it is. I've been looking all over the place for what it was, and it was just such a beautiful space to answer those questions of who am I. And I agree with you, Mary, let's create ourselves, let's find the joy in that, and take all those mirrors and create kind of a big mirror ball of greatness that is us, it's awesome. And so thank you. I'm glad I accepted the invitation, even though I didn't know what I was accepting when I was.
Surprise!
Thank you, Sol.
Yeah.
An interesting concept I came along on my journey was also, sometimes we talk about like our higher selves and our best selves, and it can also put this pressure on us, like we have to achieve this like state of perfection. And then one day I was like, what if we call it our favorite self? Like there's an experience we have when we're in a particular state and we're in flow and we're having fun and we're connecting with people and we're feeling connected to ourselves. And like for me, that's my favorite self. And what if, it was about like, how do I create my favorite self? And what do I need? Like, how do I cultivate that mindset? Self-care.
I like that, because now you can ask yourself, how far am I from my favorite self right now at any given point in time, any given point in the day? That's the question. How far? Because if you know what your favorite self looks like, and of course we can't always induce favorite self, like Mary's favorite self shows up on a dance floor while she's booging. That's one of her favorite selves. And we can't always be dancing with Mark's disco ball, because that's what I saw when you told me about mirrors, that I saw this big disco ball hanging. We can't always do that because we have to sit in Zoom calls and we've got life and whatever. But then what are the little things that my favorite self enjoy can I incorporate in here? So in between meetings, let me play my favorite song. Woo, da, 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 and you quickly make your coffee and you quickly do your thing, and then poof, off again, and you are straight back in your Zoom call. But you have that little thing that's still, the energy is still fluttering inside of you. These little things we need to do for ourselves.
So it boils down to those like practices and those habits.
Yes. Because once you understand yourself, you can say yes and no easily. Like you can understand what is a fuck yes and what's a fuck no very, very quickly. That whole thing, should I, shouldn't, it almost falls away. It's yes or it's no. And you know it very quickly, and you start trusting it. That's the other thing. I think a lot of us know it quickly, but we don't trust it because it's like you're a stranger to yourself. Would you trust a stranger that gives you advice? No. Stranger danger. You need to get to know yourself.
Yeah.
I think that also, I think that also just adds to, where we're all going with self-care at the moment is really getting to, you can't take care of yourself if you don't know yourself, and you don't know what that looks like. So you've almost got to go back a few steps in order to give yourself permission to be who you are, and just go, look, it's great. And yes, there is all of the ugly beautiful and all of that stuff, but I found myself in a situation last week where I got horribly ill, and was man down, and it was a realization that even being present with myself and really loving who I am, and I was saying yes to everything, and I was loading my plate so full, and none of what I was putting on my plate was bad or negative, or it was all good stuff, but the volume of stuff that I was putting on the plate was not good for me, and that was a big lesson, and it came back to me while you were talking of that choose to say no, if I
Yeah.
stand in my power to choose,
Yeah.
that's it. And that's where I love where this whole community of self-love and self-expression is going.
Yes.
It's that you can get 3 or 4 people from around the Western Cape and just celebrate the uniqueness and the joy and the beauty, and just go, well, even where does this go is not even an important answer. It's not. It's just that the question I ask myself all the time is this valuable in my life? Does this add value to me? And so yes, today this hour has added value to me, and please extend the invitation for the next one, and
Yes.
I will be gladly a part of these conscious coach hours or power hours. What did you call them?
Thank you, Mark. Just from my side, on a closing note, I just want to say, as a species, we are evolving. We are not our grandparents or our great-grandparents or even our parents. If we look at just generationally, there would be things like, if we look at homosexuality, for example, if you had a great-grandfather who had homosexual tendencies, he would be quiet about it. He wouldn't tell a soul. He would hate himself or just suppress it, even not even look at it. It goes in a closet, it gets locked up, it's gone. He marries your great-grandmother, they have 10 kids, and then one of those kids, one of them are homosexual, and that child, so that would be your grandfather, maybe looks around but doesn't do anything, nobody knows, still married your Oma, and more children, right? But maybe that one was a bit more exploratory and didn't lock it up too tightly. And then there's your father, same thing. So it's just generationally that I'm trying to kind of give you the perspective. Then there's your father, who maybe was homosexual, would maybe watch porn but still married your mom. And then there's you, homosexual, and you're screaming it from the mountaintops. You were like on the Titanic, like Kate Winslet and whatnot, and you're standing there and you have to scream it, because we can't swallow the bitter pills of who we are, what brings us joy, what sparks our souls. We can't put it in the closet anymore, because we are evolving as a species, and we are also evolving in our consciousness. And so we can't pretend it's not happening, because we're already there. Yeah.
Have you been Googling my family, by the way?
No.
It reminds me of that, like the pain of, staying in the seed in the shell is, too much, then to break through it and just, accept the consequences, follow that path, embrace, and work through the challenge of loving oneself.
Yes. Yes.
Amazing.
And it's the big and the small, so yay.
Yeah, all the different layers, right? So thank you for Mark, Patricia in the room, anyone who's watched and spent time today on YouTube. I love this topic, although it's, one that's close to my life and my focus. There's always a nugget in these conversations. Like every time I walk away with something new or a reminder, like, oh, yes, that. Focus on that for the next couple of weeks. Any questions or thoughts, please reach out to Simone, Gabbi, and you can find more of our recordings on YouTube. Link is on the screen, and this will be the 11th one that we'll be adding to it, and number 12 comes in 2 weeks. What are we doing in 2 weeks? We've got Amy Lee, and she is going to be speaking on the pleasure revolution, healing trauma and reclaiming joy through sensual connection. And Amy Lee's got an incredible combination of gifts, talents, practices. She is a shamanic therapist, sex and relationship coach. She weaves it and integrates it all together so beautifully. So 4th of December, it's a Wednesday, same time, same place. Links are on the screen, and we'll also share them on social media. So one can register now already. And then if you're not already part of Solo Community, please do explore and see what we're all about. There are the solo WhatsApp groups, and there are groups for each area in South Africa. The community groups where you can discover events that are happening, products that are being sold, and chat groups as well across all different topics. And then there's also the solo online portal, which is a directory and community space to, register and find a sage that you'd like to work with, or an event that is coming up. There's all sorts of exciting things on there, and a lot coming up in summer too, from retreats to, weekly yoga to breathwork workshops and everything in between. So thank you everybody for joining. It's been a pleasure. Thank you, Simone, Gabbi, again for your beautiful contribution to the space. It's such a pleasure working with you. And we will see you in 2 weeks' time.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Have a wonderful day.
Thank you, everybody. Toodles. Bye. Bye, Mark. Bye, Patricia.